Hi, welcome to the Cult TV Sofa. This is a reaction video of the 13th episode of Season 1 of Babylon 5 called Signs and Portents. Last time we saw the dock workers go on an illegal strike after an explosive accident rocked the station and killed one of their members. A government troubleshooter was called in to quash the strike, and he eventually enacted the Rush Act, which gave the authority to stop it by any means necessary. Sinclair achieved this by diverting money from the military budget and giving the dock workers pretty much what they wanted. But this action seems to have gained Sinclair a few enemies in the Earth government as well. So let's see what happens in this episode. I'm going to put any relevant trivia that I find over here, and at the end of the reaction I'm going to be discussing what happened and my thoughts about the episode. And I'm going to start it in 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. The time is 0430 Earth Standard, Wednesday,
God.
August 3rd, 2258.
God, that sounds like that's a normal time to get up, 4:30. The computer voice sounds very different. Like a chirpy version to wake them up.
Morning, Lieutenant Commander.
Commander,
Sleep well?
No,
sleeping is not the problem.
getting up.
Waking up, that is a problem.
I can relate.
I've always had a hard time getting up when it's dark outside.
But in space, it's always dark.
I know.
Hit by raiders. Surprise attack. They're in pursuit.
Well, she's not going to survive until they get there. I always quite like the shots where they have it curving off into the distance, obviously to simulate the rotation of the station. Well, the circular nature of the station.
Spent the last few years doing some exploration out on the rim.
Find anything interesting?
Yes.
Cryptic.
We can't let this go on. If we can't guarantee safe passage to the station.
One, by the time we hear about an attack in progress, it's too late to do anything about it. Also recommend we put together a profile of all incoming ships for the next few weeks. See who's carrying any valuable cargo.
It'll be tough. Not everyone files a complete manifest. A lot of them just flat out lie.
All we can do is try to
Their
help
fault.
them. If they won't cooperate, then they'll just have to accept the
Yeah,
consequences.
exactly. You're not psychic.
I've been keeping it to myself, but the truth is, I need some help.
So you go tell him about Delenn.
I finally received confirmation that payment in full has been deposited into my account back on Earth. Here's the merchandise.
That seems very dodgy, paying someone when you haven't actually got whatever it is they're paying for. You can't do it at the same time normally.
This is not the merchandise. This is the eye. The oldest symbol of Centauri nobility. My government paid enough to buy a small planet. But I would very much like to know how you got your hands on this.
No, you wouldn't.
And he wouldn't tell you, even if you would. That's how he makes his money. Considering its worth, you think Londo would have had a few security guards as well.
Ambassador?
Ambassador?
I wouldn't want to be that guy in the middle.
You should have thought of that before you strip mined our resources.
So it is all our fault, hmm?
Precisely.
How awkward does he look?
And you're sure that was the lane you saw?
So he's told him everything.
I'm not sure I understand the question, Mr. Morden, yes.
In order to see someone of your prominence,
He's slick.
what do you want?
Well, what do you mean, what do I want?
What do you want?
The Centauri stripped my world. I want justice, to suck the marrow from their bones and grind their skulls to powder.
I think Jakar's feelings are on the fence about the Centauri. What do you think?
Ambassador Millar.
Yes, Lord Kiro. I am honored.
This is Ladira, my aunt, and also the seer and prophetess of our house.
Babylon will fall. This place will be destroyed. Fire,
Okay.
death, pain, fire, death, pain. No.
Bet she's fun to have at parties.
It was a vision. Very powerful.
I'd want to be on the next ship out of there, I think.
She's been wrong before. On my first birthday, she said that someday I would be killed by shadows.
Shadows.
Well, she's not wrong. You haven't died yet. They get really bad bet here, don't they?
6 to 1. Have located target. Commencing surveillance.
That was so conspicuous.
What do you want? Something wrong, Ambassador? Ambassador?
Get out. Now.
And no one else knows that it's here?
No one. Except the man who brought it here. I think we can rely on his discretion.
Good.
Why? He's got his money. What's he care about discretion now?
It will be better for the government to declare that they found it back home, rather than to admit they had to buy it from some outsider.
Yeah. Politically, that would make sense.
The eye belongs to my family, my house.
Sounds like someone's trying to use it as leverage.
If I were to return with the eye, claim the throne for myself.
Lord Kiro,
Treason.
these are no longer the good old days.
Where did it all go wrong, Mallory?
I don't know.
Looks a bit awkward having those sort of questions asked of him. I think he realises that that kind of discussion was a dangerous one to have.
They're heading for the docking base. Repeat, they're heading for the docking base. Hit with everything you've got. We've got to get out. Launch the escape pod. Distract! Everyone, to the shuttle.
So that sounds like Babylon 5 was under attack. People were jettisoned into escape capsules and it blew up.
This is a mayday. Repeat, mayday.
Stand by, Achilles. Help's on the way.
Roger that.
Lieutenant Commander, you're clear to launch.
Confirmed.
Space is so vast, though, and the distances they're talking about. It'd be really hard for them to get somewhere to help at short notice like that. The Raiders have the advantage.
They've taken the bait. Estimate 2 hours until they can reload the Cobra base. Keep them busy once they arrive. We'll take care of Babylon 5 from this end.
So those Raiders are a diversion to get fighters away. I think it was only one wing they sent, though. There's another 3 wings of Star Furies, I think.
You are clear to dock.
4 on ship.
Welcome back, Ambassador Kosh.
Okay, Kosh has been away. Maybe a little holiday somewhere. Somewhere by the beach, by the sea. He looks like the type who likes to sunbathe. Okay, so he actively hid from Kosh as he's approaching all the other ambassadors.
You'll have protection every step of the way once you're through the gate.
Well, I should hope so.
Why has he not got any security?
Yes, look. What do you want?
That's what I was going to ask you. What do you want?
You are a lunatic. Go away. I want my people to reclaim their rightful place in the galaxy. I want to see the Centauri stretch forth their hand again and command the stars. I want it all back the way that it was. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes, it does.
I very rarely pause an episode, but I'm going to there. That was really interesting. So he had a previous conversation with that other Centauri about the past and where things went wrong and, how things are now different on the planet. And he was obviously having all those thoughts because of that. It was already on his mind. And then when he was asked that question, what do you want? It all came flooding out because it's obviously been playing on his mind and he just blurted it out. It's interesting to see the sort of seed that was planted earlier on, and he's obviously been thinking about it and then it came out in that way. That was interesting. But what would you do if a complete stranger came up to you? It's hard to think you were an ambassador, but somebody made an appointment to see you and they just walked in and the one thing they say to you is, what do you want? Both Shakar and Londo have said really big things and sort of from the bottom of their heart about saving their species and everything. I just can't imagine coming out with that kind of deep thought to a complete stranger like that who just asks, what do you want? it just, I don't know, it just seems a bit odd. You would surely do what they've all done to start with, dismiss them as, for want of a better word, an idiot. He's not, obviously, but you would just dismiss him as a time waster. That's a better way of putting it. And just tell him to go away. That seems weird and odd. But yeah, it was interesting to see that bit and sort of the thought process. Cool. Let's carry on.
Up until now, the raiders have been hitting closer to Babylon 5, but this new attack is almost a full sector further away. Call up a cargo manifest on the Achilles and see what she's carrying.
To draw the star viewers away from the station. I'm assuming the raiders are going to take that. Ooh.
I want the eye. And to make sure there are no further problems, you three have just become hostages.
Well, that's a risk taking them as a hostage. He's an ambassador. He's a very high stake person to kidnap or hold hostage.
Hydroponic supplies, tools, atmospheric testing materials. There's nothing here that would bring a high price on the black market.
Yeah, but like you said, they often lie about it.
Return to base.
But Commander...
It's a diversion, Lieutenant Commander. They want your force as far from the station as possible.
Yeah, but like I said a second ago, they already know that people lie about what's on the manifest. What if there is something on there that they don't know about?
If anybody tries to block the docking bay, I'll use the ship's thrusters and burn my way through. Understood?
Understood.
I'd always heard you were a smart man, Sinclair.
He is much smarter than you.
Garibaldi, a Centauri liner will be coming out of the docking bay in about 5 minutes. Target engines only. I want her disabled, not destroyed.
Confirmed. Launching out.
They got him as a hostage,
We'll
though.
program the jump gate to reject the ship's ID code once they're
that's
outside.
Interesting. So they can literally block the gate and stop a ship from going through it. So they'll hide it around the back of the station. They're quite quick, actually. The distance they travelled then around the station was quite a lot distance in the short amount of time.
Commander, jump point forming in Sector 3.
What?
They've got a ship with their own jump gate. Well, yeah, not jump gate, but able to jump. Well, we've seen they've got defences before. Why aren't they activating their defence?
Level 1 alert. Activate defense grids.
Thank you. I would have done that straight away. Took his time.
The shadows have come for Lord Kiro.
And that's what she said, that Lord Kiro would be killed by shadows.
Centauri transport heading for the mothership. Unable to pursue.
Ah. Now it can get away using its own, making its own jump.
Surprise!
Oh, it's a long way from the station, isn't it? I thought it was closer than that. It was a bit close to the station, though. I would have thought there'd be some friendly fire damage from that sort of manoeuvre. Too late.
Very convincing performance. We had an agreement.
Had. Past tense.
You don't trust people like that.
What the hell?
Her powers are very odd. People talk about psychics, but... talk about telepaths, but haven't heard anything about psychics. I love that ring.
A gift from friends you don't know you have.
It's that gem.
The eye.
The eye.
How can I ever find you to thank you?
We will find you, Ambassador.
I wouldn't be smiling, Londo. You don't get anything for free.
The vision is still there.
And it looks like her vision's come true.
But I can let you see.
She's a very powerful person with her powers and abilities. To do that as well. If you're going to kidnap someone, you kidnap her. She's worth a fortune.
Is it a vision of what will be or what might be?
The future is always changing.
Okay.
This is a possible future, Commander.
Okay, I held my tongue for a second there in case there was a bit more, but what she just said makes no sense from her abilities. So she is a seer, she has visions, they seem to be coming true, but then that one in particular, well, maybe not just that one, but then she kind of contradicts herself by saying, in this case, that one was a possible future. So does that mean every vision she has is a possible future? In which case they wouldn't necessarily all come true. In fact, I would have thought probably most of them wouldn't come true, because once you know something's going to happen, you will likely make changes to stop it from happening. But obviously from other shows I've seen, often knowing something's going to happen and making changes is often what makes the thing happen in the first place. So it's all it's very complicated to think about sometimes, sort of future predictions. But that just seemed a bit weird, very convenient the way that happened, which is a bit of a shame. So, as I've said before, I have seen the series before. I can't remember individual episodes, but I can obviously remember this is the first introduction we've had to the Shadows. We saw a shadow ship there, which seems to have a cloaking device, is the best way of putting it. So they've gone, Mr. Morden, that's the man, was going around asking the ambassadors specifically, what do they want? And they, or he, and the Shadows have they brought back the eye to Londo. So he's now in their debt, basically, which is not going to be a good thing. I didn't get to mention it in the episode. It's a really small little thing I noticed, but the seer, the lady at the end, when she went to Sinclair's office, she picked up the mug, and I don't know if you noticed, but the mugs were really wide based, and I immediately thought about the ones they have in Star Trek, specifically Deep Space Nine. They have that really wide base which sort of narrows. It's basically the anti-spill. So if there's an explosion on the space station, or if it's moving around for space travel, the drink doesn't fall over. I just thought it was quite interesting to see that. They obviously didn't have the same design as the Star Trek ones. They're quite iconic, the ones they use in Star Trek, with the sort of, I'll put a picture up here of them, but I thought I'd mention it. It just interested me when I saw it. So yeah, this was actually a really important episode, because obviously it's the introduction to, it's the beginning basically of everything. But it was a good episode. So I'm not sure if these are the only raiders. We've had obviously raider attacks in the past. I mean, it looked like the same sort of fighters. So is that now the raiders taken care of? Are there more raiders? I'm not sure. Obviously we'll find out in future episodes. But yeah, it was a good episode. Looking forward to watching the next one. Yeah, let me know what you thought in the comments below, and shall see you for the next one. Be seeing you.